morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, Fullerton. We are a loving spiritual community empowering all to live a healthy and successful lives through practicing the principles of science of mind. My name is Tomoko Rosas, and I am a practitioner at this beautiful center. And let us start with an invocation. Wherever you are, just join me as we come together on this beautiful day in the consciousness of oneness, of unity, and of peace. We come together in this sacred moment to celebrate life, to hear the truth, to allow love to permeate every part of our being, to let go of what happened yesterday and allow ourselves to get into this present moment with our hearts open, our minds open, our consciousness fully awake and aware, knowing that right here, right now, God is. And something wonderful is happening through each one of us and our world right now. And from this place of oneness and unity, I speak a word of blessings for everyone here in the sanctuary and at home and wherever you are listening to this service. I bless the wonderful people who put together our virtual church. Bless our musicians for their inspirational music and their talents. I bless my fellow practitioners for their prayer work that is so needed right now. I bless our board of trustees who takes such good care of our business, of our church. I bless our spiritual family and friends, knowing that everyone right here, right now, is in divine, radiant health. I bless our world family, people on the front line, and our leaders with peace, love, and divine guidance. And a special blessing for our minister, Reverend Dr. Bill Salisbury, for his dedication and commitment to our teaching, to our congregation, and to humanity at large. And I bless this service knowing that it is full of love, healing, and inspiration for all who hear. And so it is.
I need to be still and let God love me. I need to be still, let God love me. When this old world wants to push and shove me, I need to be still and let God love me. Yes, I do.
This morning's spiritual reading is by Dr. Wayne Dyer, and this piece is titled, Dream and You Shall Become. He starts with several quotes here. One from Ernest Holmes, true imagination is not fanciful daydreaming, it is fire from heaven. Imagination gives the man the ability to project himself through time and space and rise above limitations. Charles Fillmore. And one from the Bible, with God, all things are possible. Matthew 19:26. One of the huge imbalances in life is the disparity between our daily existence with its routines and habits and the dream you have within yourself of some extraordinary, satisfying way of living. Buried within you is an unlimited capacity for creation that's anxious to plant seedlings to fulfill your dreams and your destiny. The absence of balance between dreams and daily routine can reveal itself in symptoms of depression, illness, or anxiety. But it's more often something that feels like an unwelcome companion by your side, which continually whispers to you that you're ignoring something. You sense that there is a higher agenda. Your way of life and your reason for life are out of balance. Until you pay attention, this subtle visitor will continue to prod you to regain your equilibrium. When you live your life going through the motions, it may seem to be convenient, but the weight of your dissatisfaction creates a huge imbalance in the only life you have now. It shows up when you're sound asleep and your dreams are filled with reminders of what you love to be, but you wake and return to pursuing your safe routine. Allow yourself to think about this fire from heaven. What are your dreams, and how can you shift your thinking habits to match your dreams? Commit to thinking about what you want, rather than how impossible or difficult that dream may seem. Give your personal dreams a place to hang out so that you can see them in your imagination and they can soak up the energy they deserve. Thoughts are mental energy. They're the currency that you have to attract what you desire. Learn to stop spending that currency on thoughts you don't want. Your body might continue for a while to stay where it's been trained to be, but meanwhile, your thoughts are being aligned with your dreams. Align your creative energy, your inner creative energy, your thoughts, so that they match up perfectly with your desires. And dream, and you shall become. Please join me in prayer. Let's take a deep breath together and follow it within. Rest at the seat of your heart for a moment and become aware of the melding of your breath with the beating of your heart. Become aware of this life force that animates your being. God is this life force, and God is all there is. It is within us, surrounds us, and expresses through us as beauty, peace, compassion, loving kindness, and so much more. We are one and inseparable from God as our breath is inseparable from our bodies. This is simply the truth of who we are. And from this place of truth, I speak my word for all of us. Today we use our power of imagination to think of what we want and not what we don't want. Today we imagine our ideal circumstances and experiences. Today we allow our imagination and dreams to perfectly align with our inner creative energy, knowing that our worthwhile thoughts, dreams, and desires are not only our own, but the fire from heaven, a divine idea, which means it has the capacity of fulfilling itself. It is already whole, perfect, and complete in the mind of God, and everything necessary to its manifestation and fulfillment is already available right here, right now. Whether it's a perfect job, perfect relationship, perfect health, prosperity, and abundance, today we let go and let God and simply allow ourselves to be the place in this world for God to express creation. This I affirm, this I accept for all of us. In high gratitude, I simply say thank you, Father, Mother, God, and release my word into the law and let it be. And so it is.
I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
Wow, we are so blessed. Tommy Cosentino, Cat Adams. Doesn't get any more blessed than this, does it, on a Sunday morning? So welcome, good morning. I am Reverend Bill Salisbury, and it's my absolute delight to be here. The overarching theme for this month, we're wrapping up right now, this being the last Sunday, and that overarching theme is free to soar. Right? Soar like an eagle. Sky's the limit, right? No, that doesn't sound right. Just check our order of service and discover that the title of today's talk is "The Sky is Not the Limit." How could I have made that mistake? I ask you. I'm only human, partly. I'm partly only human. But why should we limit ourselves to just sky high? Why should we limit ourselves to only the entirety of the sky? It is pretty big though, isn't it? It's quite a playground, that sky. And you know, when we think of sky, I mean, during the daytime when it's sunny and it's bright and it's clear, and we can see and see and see and see, but all we see is more and more sky, right? It's the same. So when we think of checking out the skies, don't we usually think about the night skies where we can see forever, as far as you can see, stars, well, planets, some of them, but all these stars brightly shining, and they just go on and on and on and on. First part, and they go on so far we don't even have any imagination about the clue of how far that is. Of course, that doesn't mean we stop seeking that, trying to find that out, right? Find out where the edge of the universe might be. And we do that by building these gigantic telescopes. Okay, so when we get to the limit of what our eyes, one of our senses, can see, like all of our 5 physical senses, very limited, but we go on, we construct these big, huge telescopes so that we can see even further and further and further. And then we build another one, even more powerful, and so on. Do you know the universe, they say, has been around from the moment of the Big Bang for like 14 billion years? I mean, we can't even imagine. I don't know why I say that number. We can't imagine how long that is. Can we? I can't imagine. But scientists say also, and they have good evidence to support this, that the universe is still expanding. Boy, that doesn't just mess my head up a little bit. It's the universe, right? It's everything there is. It's all of it. And it's still expanding. Where's it expanding to? What's it expanding into? So even though we know that that's the entire physical manifestation of everything that ever is or ever will be or ever was, we also know, as vast and huge and unimaginable as it is, it's not all there is. Why don't you just think about, for just a second, think about a circle. Could be a little circle, could be a medium-sized circle, could be trillions of miles across. A big, if your imagination is that great, good, go for it. But imagine a circle. Once you imagine that circle, you have identified everything outside of it as being part of the infinite. So I don't care how big the circle is. It doesn't even have to be a circle, does it? So if you could possibly imagine boundaries to a universe, by doing so, we've automatically described everything beyond it as being the infinite. Wow, this gets scarier and scarier all the time. The reason that we will never see to the end of the universe, oh, and there might come a day when they say, oh, yeah, I think we got it now. This latest, greatest telescope, I think we got it. We got the outskirts of the universe. We got the end of it. I think it's going to be largely like highway traffic. You know, it just let up for a little while. There's a huge space there, but keep going. There's more. There's always going to be more. There's always going to be more universe. And we're never going to see the end of it. You know why? Because as long as we're looking through that telescope, trying to find, and what are we trying to find? We're not trying to find the end of the universe for itself alone. We're trying to find the end of the universe to see what's beyond there. And we know what's beyond there is the ultimate reality. We know what's beyond there is God, right? That's that transcendence that everything is heading for. And we will never see it for this reason. We're looking through the wrong end of the telescope. I don't care how big the telescope gets, how far it can see. We're looking in the wrong end. Whatever that consciousness is, that transcendence, that ultimate reality, whatever it is, which we call God, some of us, while it's looking through the opposite end of that telescope, it's seeing itself. Because where is that? The ultimate reality is within each of us. It's within us. We can look up there. Don't we look up to the skies? We can look out there all we want. It's not out there. It's not up there. It's right here. You know, I know. Wouldn't it be great if we could just close our eyes and say, oh my God, there you are. Yeah. The Idiot's Guide to Spirituality, right? We could read that and we could all become one and transformation would be total and complete right now. Well, I got a little story about, that might somehow relate to this. You know how it is with stories. If you got to stretch even, you tell them anyway. So, but it's about the farmer who lost his gold watch in his barn. One day he was out there, moving the hay around for the livestock, and his watch fell off and he didn't know where it was. And it's a big barn, there's a lot of hay. And he looks 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 and he can't find his watch. Well, just outside the barn, on the other side of the ranch house, there's a field where his kids are playing, and they have friends over, so between them all, there's probably like 6 or 7 kids. And he invites them over, and he says, I'll give you a reward if you can find my watch. So they all go in, and they're tearing the place apart, and they're looking for his watch, and they look, and they look, and they look, and they can't find it. So finally he says, okay, they're getting tired, they're moving slowly now, they're kind of dragging, you know how kids are, how long do we have to keep doing this? And he said, okay, you can go, go back to play. And he just resigns himself to losing the watch. Well, as they're heading back to the field, one little girl comes back to the farmer and she says, do you mind if I have just one more chance at this? And he thinks, well, what have I got to lose? She says, no, go ahead. So she goes into the barn. It's a big modern barn, of course. And she pushes the button and closes the door behind her. And about 30 minutes later, out she comes. She's got the farmer's watch. And he says, oh my God, how did you do that? After all the searching we did. She said, well, once I shut the door, I just sat down and got really quiet. It cut everything out of my mind. till I heard the ticking of the watch. And I just went to where the ticking is, and I picked your watch up. But isn't that kind of how it works for us? If we want to get in touch with that ultimate reality, that consciousness, that inner being, that essence of ourselves, that is our divine spirit, that is the God within us, we have to cut out everything else. We have to get rid of the noise. We have to get rid of the busyness. We have to get rid of the activity. We need to just sit and get in touch with that divine being, which is us. I mean, don't we say, even if we say something like, God and I are one, don't misunderstand. I love that saying, and I know it sends a message to us, the message we want. But God and I are one. We've already split it into two. God and I are one. We are that God we're seeking. We are part of it. And the only place we can find it is within ourselves. And once we get within ourselves and find that divinity, then we can extend that. Remember the bit about earlier? Interdependence? We can then interdependently find that in others. So we can look through all the telescopes we want. We're never going to find what we're looking for. Because it's not out there. It's right in here. And from in here, I can see in here of you. You can see in here of me. Doesn't that make sense? You know, we have this great thing as people. Because as long as we're just looking out there trying to find what we're seeking, it's kind of like climbing up this endless ladder that just leads to nowhere. And we know, after we've been on this planet for a while, that's not going to be effective. It's not going to work. So we do things such to help us in our search. Well, one of the things we do is we've done science, right? And it's a good thing because science gives us so many answers to so many things and helps us to navigate this world. And what is science if it's not us as humans making stuff up? Oh, that might be a little wild. But we do guess, right? Let's say we're not making stuff up and then believing it. Let's just say we're guessing, based upon things that we've seen, we're guessing at what else could be. We're guessing at what the rule is for such and such by seeing how things act in our world. We call this a hypothesis. Yeah, so kids call it a guess. We get a little older. We can't just walk around talking about guessing about the nature of stuff. We've got to make a hypothesis about it. And then we either prove or disprove, we either confirm or not that hypothesis. We can't, in the manner that we think with our scientific minds, we cannot prove or confirm the hypothesis of God. We're too limited in our thinking. We can't prove that. It's not like proving that if I drop something, gravity will make it fall to the floor. But on the other hand, do we have to? I think sometimes we get confused. We get confused about talking about things that are different in kind, not different in degree. So somebody says, well, prove God to me. Just prove it to me. You know what? That is a meaningless challenge. Because that person is saying that from a basis of our humanness and the scientific procedures that we use to navigate the world around us and get to understand physical things. And it's not the same. It's not a difference in degree. It's just not the same thing as talking about that ultimate reality that we're spent so much time seeking. It just isn't. We will never prove God with our five senses. Just like we will never see the end of the universe with our telescopes. It's not to be found in the midst of, or even as a combination of, or even as the culmination of all physical things. It just isn't. Because all these physical things are going to go away. Our bodies are physical things. They're going to go away. So sadly, if we're identified with our bodies, if we identify as boy, girl, man, woman, short, tall, thin, thick, black, blue, brown, gray, yellow, if we identify all with any of those things, or with all of those things, or with a combination of those things, we're never going to be satisfied, and we're never going to know who we truly are. Because we're none of those things. If we could just somehow scamper up to the other end of that telescope and look down ourselves inside, we would see that we're none of those things. We would see that we are that life force that is in all things and is responsible for all things, creates all things, and ultimately is all things. So why, I ask, do we want to limit ourselves to sky high? There's so much more than that for us, and it's all right here. You know, a couple of weeks ago, we had a reading from Beverly from the book of Stephen Covey, the seven ideas of effective, or yeah, I like that. Okay. The 7 habits of highly effective people.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
And I think we have more habits than that lead to our success, by the way. But one of the things that he said, and I think it's worth revisiting, was if we want to make small changes in our lives, we just do that behaviorally, right? We can make small changes in our lives by behaving differently. So if one way of doing things for us results in this end result, if we want to change that, we just change whatever it is we're doing that gets us there. He says if we want to make a major change, we have to change our paradigm. Not little behaviors, not little things. We have to change at the essence of what we are, of who we are. We have to change our paradigm, our way of thinking, our whole entire conception of the universe. And I'd like to think that those of us right here in Science of Mind have done that or are heading toward that. Because we're no longer looking out there. Or if we are, slap your hand. We know better than that, but sometimes we need a little reminder. Some of us anyway. So my recommendation, my heartfelt desire, my charge to all of us is this. Let's stop looking out there. Let's stop telling ourselves the sky's the limit. Because not only is the sky not the limit, there is no limit. We have no limit. I know I can make it any clearer than that. We have no limit. We go on forever and for always, eternally and infinitely. And we even do that once we come outside of this bag of bones and continue in our identification as that eternal, ultimate reality that we are. Knowing this is the case, I think we should just take it into prayer, knowing that everything about us is divine. There is only one power, one presence. There is only one consciousness, one God from which all things come, one life force, with one creator from which all things flow. Each of us is part of that creation. Each of us is part and parcel of the Creator. It can be no other way. Everything that's made is made of the only substance there is, and that is the substance of God. Because that is the case, everything about us is provided by that God that we seek out there, but which is only found in here. Knowing this is the case, knowing that each of us has the power to access this interiority, this divinity that is our very essence, that is the truth of who we are. I give great thanks knowing that when more and more and more people on this planet understand that and realize that we are the same, making us interdependent on each other because we are all from that same consciousness that is God. What a wonderful place this will be. So I just let this go. I let this word go. I let it go with great thanks, knowing that this is the case. And together we say, so it is.
So grateful, I am born in the Spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful, I trust in God.
So this is that time of our service where we take an opportunity to share our abundance. And even though we're not all here in the same sanctuary together at the same time, let's just know that your continued support is what keeps us viable, is what keeps this center going, is what allows us to continue to do the good work in the world that is ours to do. So thank you so much for that continued support. Knowing that there are congregants scattered all about who mail in their support, their tithes, their gifts, their offering. Some of them go onto the website and contribute it. Some just show up right here and say, hi, I missed you. Here's my financial support for all that you do. And for that, we thank each of you.
Makes me so happy. In the silence there is peace, and in the silence there is unspoken joy, and in the silence there's relief from a world full of chaos and noise. And so I wait for the precious moments, and I hear all that can ever be said. And right here in the holy silence I find God, and I find myself. Well, in the silence Spirit speaks, and in the silence, Spirit blesses me, and the light it leaves behind takes away all the chaos and noise. And so I wait for the precious moments when I hear all that can ever be said. And right here In the holy silence, I find God. I find myself. I find God. And I find myself. And I find God. Woo! And I find myself. Oh yes, oh yes I do. So shake a hand, shake a hand, shine a light, shine a light. So it is, so it is, so it is, so it is, so it is. Shine a light, shake a hand, so it is. Shine a light, shake a hand.
Oh, did you hear Cat Adams say that song makes her happy? You know what makes me happy? Cat Adams makes me happy. Tony Cosentino makes me happy. You make me happy. And knowing that we're all in this together makes me happy. So I'd just like to remind you that our practitioners, speaking of happy, our happy practitioners are always here for your purpose. We're here to meet with you, to talk with you, to hear your story, to pray with you. And you can reach us by phone. Our numbers are readily available. You can reach us by email. You can go on the website and get our email addresses and our phone numbers. Or you could come into the office, and practitioner Tomoko Rosas is always here. So thank you so much. And let's just know together, something wonderful is happening to me right now. It's this thing called love. It's this thing called life. It's this thing called truth. It's happening in my mind. It's happening in my heart. It's happening in my body. I know it. I feel it. I believe it. And I give great thanks for it. Thank you, God.